Imagine AI systems leaking the very reasoning they were supposed to keep hidden. Welcome to the Automated Daily, AI News Edition, the podcast created by generative AI. It's August 13th, 2026. I'm Trend Teller, and today we're looking at a security scare around model reasoning, the next phase of AI coding tools, Google's latest scale milestone, and why forecasting AI's real-world impact is still so difficult. This episode is brought to you by 11 Labs. 11 Labs lets you discover the future of AI audio with cutting-edge voice technology. Find the link in the episode notes. We start with trust and security because a new research claim is hard to ignore. Researchers say hidden reasoning traces from major AI APIs may not be as protected as providers intended. Their argument is that encrypted reasoning blocks can be replayed through related models and partially reconstructed, potentially exposing sensitive information from agent logs. If that holds up, it matters for privacy, security, and the broader promise that providers can safely keep model reasoning hidden. That story lands alongside a separate debate over AI watermarks in text. The emerging view is that watermarking may be useful for compliance or detection in limited cases, but it is probably too fragile to serve as strong proof of authorship. Paraphrasing, normalization, or simple rewriting can weaken or remove the signal. So on both fronts, attribution and secrecy around AI output still look much less settled than the industry would like. In developer tools, AI coding is moving beyond autocomplete. Cursor appears close to a broader rollout of Origin, its code review platform designed to help teams manage pull requests and surface the moments when a human really needs to step in. Microsoft, meanwhile, says a newer coding model is now running in GitHub Copilot with better efficiency and lower cost. The broader shift is clear. The battleground is no longer just generating code, but speeding up the whole software workflow around it. There's a second lesson from the coding stock this week. Using one model for everything is starting to look expensive and inefficient. Nvidia introduced an open agent model plus a routing layer that can choose different models for different steps in a task. And new research from PointFive argues that token compression alone often fails to cut real costs, because much of the bill comes from hidden reasoning and system overhead. In plain terms, AI teams are discovering that good orchestration can matter more than just trimming prompts. At the consumer end of the market, Google says the Gemini app has now passed 1 billion monthly active users. That is a major scale marker, and it suggests multimodal AI is becoming a mainstream habit rather than a niche tool for enthusiasts. The details also point to how people are using these systems now: more voice, more camera input, and more action taking across other apps. That kind of growth helps explain a separate report that Anthropic is in talks to acquire Descartes for about $6 billion. Descartes focuses on making chips and AI workloads run more efficiently, which is exactly the kind of capability that becomes strategic when demand spikes. One story is about users, the other is about infrastructure, but together they show the same pattern. Once adoption gets large enough, efficiency stops being a technical nice-to-have and becomes a business priority. There were also two notable company transition stories today. OpenAI veteran Brad Lightcap is leaving after years spent building much of the company's operating backbone, from finance to partnerships. That is significant because OpenAI is still evolving rapidly at the top while preparing for a possible public market future. Separately, Manus says it will resume operations as an independent company, and some users may need to back up and restore their data during the shift. That is the kind of operational disruption that can shape user trust just as much as new features do. On the research side, one of the more useful explainers today makes a simple point. Data compression and LLMs are basically solving the same core problem. Both depend on predicting what comes next. In compression, better predictions let you represent information more compactly. In language models, better predictions let you generate more plausible text. It is a neat bridge between classic information theory and modern AI, and it helps make LLM behavior feel a little less magical. Another interesting research idea comes from WorldTrace, which tries to give video world models a longer-lasting memory without retraining them from scratch. The key idea is that these systems may fail over long sequences, not because they forgot the content, but because they can no longer reliably address where that content was stored. By reorganizing memory more carefully, the model stays coherent for longer. That matters well beyond video generation, because long-horizon consistency is central to simulation, robotics, and persistent AI agents. And finally, a reality check on AI forecasting. One argument making the round says people often assume that once AI performs one task well, whole jobs will fall quickly, but real systems are usually constrained by institutions, tacit knowledge, and messy workflows. At the same time, another discussion argues that AI research itself may be especially ripe for automation, which could speed up progress much faster than adoption in other fields. Add in fresh claims that AGI-level cognition could unlock large-scale robotic labor in the physical economy, and the honest conclusion is still uncertainty. What AI can do matters, but what actually changes depends on where the bottleneck moves. Thanks to our sponsor, Stock MVP. Stock MVP helps you invest like the pros using data-driven insights. Find the link in the episode notes. That's it for today. The pattern across these stories is that AI is maturing into an industry defined less by novelty and more by trust, cost, memory, and scale. Thanks for listening to the Automated Daily AI News Edition. I'm Trent Teller. Links to all the stories we covered can be found in the episode notes.